Hey everyone, and welcome back, ready to dive in. Today, we're going deep on something that's been around for ages but feels so relevant right now. Meditation. We've got a ton of research to unpack, and
Mhm.
I'm really excited to figure out why it's having such a moment and what it actually does for you.
Yeah, it really is interesting. Meditation seems to be everywhere, and the research you sent over, it points to something way deeper than just a trend, right? It's this, I don't know, this need to reconnect with ourselves, especially in our crazy busy world.
Totally. And it's more than just, feeling relaxed. It
Yeah.
seems like these sources are saying meditation can actually heal us, like physically, mentally, emotionally.
A big claim, yeah, but the evidence is really growing. One thing that jumped out at me going through all this research is just how many physical benefits are linked to meditation. It's not just in your head, it's actual changes happening in your body.
So let's get into that. I'm seeing stuff about lower heart rate, better blood pressure, even changes in how our genes work. Like meditation is rewiring how we deal with stress.
Exactly. There was this one study, it found that people who meditate regularly had way lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. And get this, over time, meditation can actually make those genes that cause inflammation less active. And that's huge because inflammation is linked to so many things, like heart disease or even cancer.
Whoa, that's wild. It's like hitting a reset button for your body,
Mhm.
getting back to a balanced state. But what about the mental and emotional side? Everyone deals with stress, so how does meditation actually help with that?
Well, it's not just about hiding the stress, it's changing how your brain responds to it in the first place. A lot of the sources talk about brainwave coherence, which is how well different parts of your brain are working together. More coherence means you can focus better, handle your emotions better, and just feel better overall.
So basically, meditation is like a workout for your brain, making it more resilient to all the ups and downs of life. I'm also seeing a lot about meditation's effects on anxiety and depression. Is that legit or is it hype?
There's some solid research behind it, actually. Tons of studies show that mindfulness meditation specifically can be just as good as medication for some people with anxiety and depression. And what's really promising is that these benefits seem to stick around even after you stop meditating. It's like it rewires the brain to be less vulnerable to those things down the road.
That's amazing. It's easy to get caught up in how this helps us individually, but a few of the sources kind of hint at a bigger impact, like how meditation could change society as a whole. What are your thoughts on that?
Things get super interesting there. I mean, if meditation can help people become more self-aware, more compassionate, more emotional resilient, imagine if way more people were doing it. Could we actually see communities become more mindful, more caring, maybe even a more peaceful world?
That's a pretty exciting thought, right? But before we get too idealistic, the sources are really clear about one thing. Get some guidance before you really dive into meditation. Why do you think they emphasize that so much?
Well, meditation can be powerful, and it's important to respect that. Sometimes it can bring up intense emotions or uncover stuff you've buried deep down. Having a good teacher or guide means you have support, you're practicing safely, and you can handle any challenges that come up.
Makes sense. It's like you wouldn't just grab a chainsaw and start cutting down trees without knowing what you're doing, right?
Yay.
Speaking of powerful tools, some of the sources mention that meditation can help people overcome addiction. That seems like a pretty big deal.
It is, and the research is growing there too. Meditation helps you become more aware of your cravings and observe them without judging yourself. That creates space between the urge and actually giving in so you have more control.
So instead of trying to ignore the cravings, you learn to understand them and change how you relate to them, like rewiring how your brain experiences rewards and finding satisfaction in healthier ways. That's pretty empowering, isn't it?
Totally. And this actually ties into something else that fascinated me in the research, the link between meditation and willpower.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that. How does meditation boost willpower?
So, meditation makes you better at focusing and resisting distractions. That translates to more self control in all areas of life, whether it's sticking to healthy habits or going after big long term goals.
It's like meditation is a gym for your willpower. The more you train, the stronger it gets. But thinking bigger picture, if more people had stronger willpower, could that lead to positive change on a societal level?
Yeah, that's a question worth exploring. We'll dig into that more in our next segment. But for now, let's leave our listeners with this thought. If meditation can help us break free from those patterns that hold us back and really tap into our full potential, what other possibilities might it unlock? Not just for us individually, but for communities and the world as a whole. Welcome back to our deep dive. When we left off, we were talking about meditation and willpower. and how that might, even affect society. Pretty interesting to think about, isn't it?
Yeah. And something else that really stood out to me was how much the sources emphasized overcoming like really ingrained habits and addictions through meditation. They make it sound like you could break free from patterns that seem almost impossible to change.
Right. Yeah. It's not like you suddenly become superhuman or just like erase all your desires. The sources describe it more as becoming more aware and creating a gap between that initial impulse and what you actually do. So with meditation, you can like start to notice those urges without immediately giving in.
That makes sense. Instead of being controlled by your cravings, you can kind of step back and choose how to react.
Yeah.
But how does that connect to, changing society as a whole?
Well, think about it. A lot of the big problems we face, whether it's climate change or, all the political fighting, they come from really deep-seated ways of thinking and acting.
So you're saying that if more people could break free from those, I don't know, unhealthy patterns through meditation, we could actually have a more conscious, more responsible society.
Exactly. Imagine a world where, like, our leaders were more self-aware, able to look past their own biases and agendas. Or imagine if people were less reactive to, like, all the fear-mongering out there and could actually have real conversations with each other.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a bit idealistic, but I can see how meditation could be a part of that. The sources also talk about how meditation can improve your mental function, so you think more clearly and make better decisions. How does that fit in?
Meditation is all about training your mind to focus and like resist distractions, right? That leads to more clarity, better decision making, and some people even say it boosts creativity.
So a more mindful society wouldn't just be more compassionate, but it would actually be better at solving problems too.
It's a really cool idea to think about. The sources don't give us all the answers, but
Hmm.
they definitely make you ask some interesting questions. Like, what if a society full of meditators could approach problems with more clarity, wisdom, and compassion? Could we find better, more lasting solutions to the challenges we face?
It's definitely inspiring, and it connects back to, our listeners who are interested in learning and personal growth. But before we get too carried away with all these big visions of the future, let's get back to something the sources keep coming back to: finding a qualified teacher. Why is that so important, especially when we're talking about these like potentially life-changing benefits?
Because it's a powerful practice.
Yeah.
And you need to approach it with, respect and make sure you're doing it safely. A good teacher can help you understand all the different techniques, figure out what works best for you, and, help you deal with any challenges that come up along the way.
Like having a guide on a tough hike.
Right.
They know the terrain, they can spot potential problems, and they make sure you get to your destination safely. Speaking of safety, some people worry about the risks or downsides of meditation. Do the sources address that at all?
Yeah, they do mention it, but it's more about being cautious than like actual danger. The risks they talk about are mostly related to using the wrong technique or jumping into really deep practices without proper guidance. That's why having a teacher is so important. They can help you avoid those pitfalls and make sure you're practicing in a way that's actually good for you and that you can keep doing long term.
It sounds like the key takeaway here is to approach meditation with an open mind. Be a little skeptical and definitely be willing to ask for help from people who know what they're doing. It's not about blindly following some guru or expecting like instant enlightenment. It's more about going on this journey of self-discovery with a trusted companion by your side.
I like that. That's a great way to put it. And on that journey, a lot of people talk about having like really profound insights and breakthroughs. They understand themselves better. They find a sense of purpose. Some even say their values and priorities change.
That's pretty powerful. So it's not just about calming your mind or de-stressing. It's about like reaching a deeper level of awareness and maybe even discovering hidden parts of yourself.
Exactly. And in our last segment, we're going to get into those deeper aspects of meditation, the potential for self-transformation, creative awakening, and even this feeling of like interconnectedness that goes beyond just you as an individual.
Sounds like we're heading into some pretty deep waters. Can't wait to dive in.
Ugh.
Right, welcome back. So we've been talking all about meditation, how it affects us physically and mentally, how it can help us break free from bad habits, and maybe even like change society as a whole.
Yeah, it's been pretty mind-blowing, right? And in this last part, we're going to get into some of the more, deeper aspects of meditation that the research talks about. Things like self-discovery, creativity, and even this sense of interconnectedness, like going beyond yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm really curious about. The sources talk about meditation as a way to like really understand yourself better. What does that even mean? Is it like therapy or something?
Not really. I mean, therapy usually focuses on, dealing with past trauma or specific problems. Meditation is more about having this direct experience of your inner world, all your thoughts and feelings and sensations, and even those subconscious patterns you might not even realize are there.
So it's like you're holding up a mirror to your own mind. But just by, like, watching your thoughts, how does that lead to self-discovery?
It creates space. In everyday life, we're so caught up in our thoughts, constantly analyzing, judging, planning, worrying. Meditation lets you step back from all that and just observe your thoughts without getting swept away.
Ah, okay. So instead of being stuck in all that mental drama, you become more of an observer. But why is that helpful?
Well, when you create that space, you start to see your thoughts for what they are. They're just like these fleeting mental events, not these absolute truths. And that can be incredibly freeing. You realize you're not defined by your thoughts, and you actually have the power to choose which ones to focus on and which ones to just, let go.
That's a cool way to think about it. The sources also talk about this connection between meditation and creativity. Does meditation, like, actually make you more creative?
It's not so much about creating creativity, but more about removing the roadblocks. Our minds are usually so cluttered with worries, to-do lists, all that mental chatter. Meditation quiets all that down, so there's space for new ideas and insights to, kind of pop up.
Like decluttering your mind to make room for inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. And when you become more present and tuned in to your inner world through meditation, you also become more receptive to inspiration from the outside world. You start noticing things you might have missed before, like the beauty of, I don't know, a flower, or the little details in a conversation, or even creative possibilities in everyday stuff.
I love that. It's like meditation helps you see the world with new eyes. And speaking of seeing the world, the sources mention something called interconnectedness. What's that all about?
This is where things get really fascinating. As you go deeper into meditation, you might start to feel this sense of connection that goes beyond just you, like a sense of unity with everything, with nature, other people, even the whole universe.
That sounds kind of mystical.
Yeah.
But is there, like, any scientific evidence for that experience?
Yeah, actually, some researchers think that meditation can actually change your brain activity in ways that, promote this feeling of interconnectedness. For example, studies show that meditation can quiet down the default mode network, which is the part of your brain that's all about like self-centered thinking. And at the same time, it can boost activity in areas related to empathy and compassion.
So it's like shifting your focus from me to we, helping you feel more connected to something bigger.
Right. And this feeling of interconnectedness can totally change how you live your life. It can inspire you to be kinder and more compassionate, to care about the environment, to work towards a world that's more fair and just for everyone.
It's like meditation isn't just a personal thing, but it can lead to a more connected and compassionate way of being in the world.
Powerful stuff, right. And it really speaks to how transformative this ancient practice can be. Meditation isn't some magic solution, but it does give you tools to become more self-aware, more resilient, more compassionate, and maybe even like find a sense of wonder and awe at how everything is connected.
It's been amazing exploring all this with you. And for our listeners, I think the main takeaway is that meditation isn't just about relaxing or de-stressing. It's a journey to understand yourself better and
Mhm.
figure out your place in the world.
And who knows? Maybe it's even a path to a more compassionate, fair, and sustainable future for all of us.
I love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of meditation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.